Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. I hope everybody's having at least a somewhat decent day in this bloodbath and this falling knife that we're seeing in the market here, with a lot of selling pressure across the board and with a lot of uncertainty that's really emerging into the markets. One of the big culprits of this, of course, is the uncertainty with what the tariffs are going to do on the economy. And now we have some additional remarks by the Trump administration that basically is bringing more fear, uncertainty, and doubt into the market. So what we're seeing is a big tech sell-off across the board, Palantir included, and some of these stocks are selling off quickly. The question is, what's my personal reaction? How am I going to be looking at these stocks going forward? Is there more room to fall? Is this the end of the bull market, or is this a buy the dip kind of situation? Of course, nobody knows in the true end, but let's get all the data and dispatch it to you. We're getting close to 25,000 subscribers. Help me hit that goal. Hit that like button. And of course, I'm a financial advisor collecting all the data and giving it to you. Now, if you pop it up on the screen here, Palantir is down about 10% on the actual trading day, closes at 76.38. Dips down in the after hours. And what we see in the overnight hours on Robinhood pops down to about $70. And there's actually some support there. And the dip is kind of being bought back right now in the after hours as we speak. Right now, it's 74.68. We will see if this holds true or steady during the market open or in the pre-market. Right now, we're seeing some investors that are coming in to buy the dip. Nonetheless, volume, 136 million, a lot of selling pressure across the board. You can see Palantir right now is sitting and testing support right out about the $70 zone. What we've seen historically in terms of just trading patterns, support levels, Palantir does have a decent amount of consolidation in the mid 70s. And the fact here, if Palantir were to lose this $70 support zone, that's where you could see down here possibly in the lower 60s. The 60s is an area that Palantir has not had a ton of trading, kind of price action in this area for a long time, but it would possibly be a support zone, especially with the strong reversal right here. Right now, we'll see Palantir can hopefully hold the 70s depending on what's going to be happening with the economy. But nonetheless, in terms of, there's really not a ton of bad stuff specifically happening with Palantir. But what you do have is when these stocks start to sell off, especially the big trendy ones, you do have a lot of bearish articles that emerge out of nowhere. We see that. We've seen this before as we've been tracking Palantir for a long time now, since 2023. The fact that Palantir here stumbles, it's down about 40% off its record high. For people that talk about this, how far Palantir is down, just how far is it up over the last few years? Remember, compare those numbers, and that's where you see a lot of psychology that kind of plays into this whole animal spirit type of trading that's happening right now. Palantir, though, as we've seen, Goldman Sachs actually is still sit in the late last week. They expect Palantir to be among the fastest growing companies in terms of this revenue. So we see analysts that are still remaining bullish. Remember, William Blair, even last week, has suggested that Palantir could actually be uniquely positioned to help support efforts to trim the governmental spending by the Trump administration. Because if you remember, the Department of Government Efficiency, they came with the budget cuts that they announced for the Pentagon, the defense budget cuts, and this kind of brought some uncertainty of how does Palantir fit into this equation? Would they be impacted negatively, or the fact that they are bringing AI into the government, could they be a replacement for some of this workforce that's being laid off? We don't know until due time, occurs, but I think Palantir does have the opportunity here to be that outlier and actually fulfill some of that waste that's being cut to help improve productivity, help cut waste, and to keep continuing kind of that same level of efficiency for these different types of departments. I think Palantir, that's where I personally think it can fit in terms of these cuts. Now, also what you're seeing, articles talking about insiders selling. We know Alex Karp, he already filed his share plan under the 105B1. This is where they kind of basically acknowledge what shares that they're authorized to sell. You also have talking about here the CTO, recently sold about $38 million worth of Palantir, though the filing actually stated that all the sales were automatic sales of shares to cover required tax withholding obligations. So just because insiders are selling does not mean it's like, oh, they think the price is coming down more. They know something that we don't. There's many different variables to the equation. One of the big ones is trying to cover the cost of taxes in some way, shape, or form. They can help raise capital or get some liquidity by selling some of their shares that they do have. On X. And what you're seeing in here, lots of bearishness, basically saying, hey, Palantir is going to ground zero, saying they want to touch Palantir. The stock has unfilled gaps all the way down to $18. Palantir, if it hits $18, I can tell you that would be a buy the dip opportunity. Personally, for me, I would probably be starting to increase a lot of capital into Palantir if it came down to 18 bucks. But hey, you never know what can happen. This is why, especially with individual stocks, it's important to always do your own research and due diligence out there. Because at the end of the day, nobody knows where some of these more speculative stocks are going to go in nature. What happened today? Dow Jones comes down about 900 points. This is kind of the main culprit. And as you can see, some of the big stocks that we've been talking about have been getting absolutely hit. What you see in terms of the market, S&P 500 down about 2.7%. The NASDAQ down 4%. You see Dow Jones, like I said, down about 900 points in the market. Trump basically comes out and says that he won't fully rule out a recession. And this was the big fear inducer into the market. We're seeing crypto is also stumbling along with the stock sell-off right here. The fear gauge right now is at its highest levels this year, as basically we have uncertainty with the economic policy because we have the playing around of tariffs of, hey, these tariffs are being implemented, but they're being exempted from this industry. Now they're being delayed, but they're still coming back full force. They're going to have short-term consequences. We don't know what's happening with the tariffs, and it hasn't been done for a long time in terms of these strong tariffs coming out of the gate from an administrative standpoint. So there's uncertainty there. On top of that, you also have this widespread sell-off right here that basically Trump's comments said that not necessarily taking a recession off the table, that unnerved a lot of investors. And that is because usually what we saw in the first term from Trump's running is that he used the stock market as a barometer to his success. And that was one of his big culprits and kind of pieces of evidence that he used to say that, hey, he was a successful leader, saying the stock market did very well. We're not seeing this as strong this go around. And what we're seeing is Trump basically saying that he's not really even looking at the market right now. And he acknowledges that there may be some short-term punishments, but the long-term goal, especially with these tariffs, are to bring a lot of wealth into America. And I just don't think the market was expecting this. A lot of the investors, institutional and retail, I don't think were expecting this. And now the question is, so what's going to be happening? And nobody really knows. So as meaningful here, they say business activity is doing well, and that's what he's running on. So we're seeing a strong divergence between animal spirits right here, and basically animal spirits is letting human emotion run the market over the actual fundamentals of what's happening in the economy. So human emotion right now is definitely, after these remarks, being a leader on why we're seeing this broader sell-off across the board. And we're seeing some of the big stocks, especially like Tesla, that is even down, erasing all of its post-election gains, falling more than 15% on Monday. Right now, Elon Musk's involvement in the administration in terms of running Doge, tariffs, declining registrations, talking about the EV company Tesla right here, is starting, people are questioning to be placed possibly in the back burner. Are we seeing some weakness in Tesla? And is that why we're seeing this kind of sell-off? I still think that animal spirits is really leading the hedge of the sell-off right here, but we see it to just $222 right now. For people that think that this could be a reversal or buy the dip situation, this is where things could get very juicy. We see Nvidia coming down to a very, very important support level at about $100. Remember, Nvidia at 150, everybody thought it was great, and nobody wanted to touch it at $100. Now it's re-entering that zone. It's just the question of how far will this falling knife drop? That's where you see the fear across the market. We see HIMS falling strongly at 72, now down at 34. Tempest really falling, almost hit $100, now down about 50% from that level at $45. Big Bear, same thing. We saw this crazy run up coming down here to about $3. So for people that are looking for possible entry points that are still bullish on the market, not thinking that this is over, hey, these are some severe discounted prices. But Nonetheless, this still could continue to fall. What's your opinions? Down in the comments. Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.